Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us at our first REVOLT Sessions. And today we have our first guest with us, Anya from Organic Basics. So if you have questions during this session at all, please leave them in the LinkedIn comments section and we'll try and answer them at the end or the conclusion of Anya's sort of talk, and then we'll get back to you. But Anya, let's have a chat about what you do and your role and your company. So maybe if you could kick off with who you are, your role, and what you do, and some of your backgrounds.
Yeah, hi everybody. It's super great to be here. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Anya, and I'm the head of sustainability at Organic Basics. I've been with the company for around 2 years, and my background is I have a master's in innovation management with a focus on sustainability. And I started there to create a tool to calculate the environmental footprint of our products. And yeah, back when I started, we were around 15 people. And I was really drawn to the values of the company, which have, in a way, you could say that Organic Basics has been born green. It was always established on values around sustainability. And that made it, a great place to work. And it does until now. And we've seen a lot of growth, which was, it's a very exciting journey.
And what maybe tell us all what you did or how you got into sustainability. What was the driving force for becoming sort of more sustainable and personally, and how that changed your approach to your career?
It's a great question, and there are so many ways to answer that. For me, I'd say there wasn't one single reason why I got into sustainability. It was it matches really well with my personal values. And also, I had quite a lot of inspirational friends around me that had early on been looking into, what's the impact of our choices as a consumer with what we buy, with what we eat. It's so much more than what we put into our body or onto our body. And just, then that kind of got me into looking what is the impact when different food choices and also what you buy. And then it kind of, rolled on from there, I'd say.
And when you talk about sustainability, can you just tell us what you mean as what sustainability is? Because it's a very well used word. So it'd be nice just to hear your perspective of what sustainability actually is.
Yeah, it's a great question because, as you say, sustainability up until today doesn't have a clear definition, which has a lot of drawbacks. But for me, it's also something great because it makes it very, it makes it very good to look into very different aspects. So definitely, from one perspective, it's that it has an economic pillar, a social pillar, and an environmental pillar, and these have to all come together in order to encompass sustainability. It's really to be able to see the choices that you make, that what impact it has on the planet and on people.
And Organic Basics, do you want to give us a little bit of background about how the company came about? It's a relatively new, like you said, new company. You've been with them for just over 2 years now. Can you give us a little bit of a background story to Organic Basics, like who founded it, what was the ambition and vision, and where they've sort of grown and how that's sort of evolved?
Yeah, so actually Organic Basics was founded in 2015 by 3 Danes, Christopher, Mads, and Alexander, who it was founded on organic underwear. So it was underwear made from organic cotton. And back in the day, that was actually still quite a new thing to go into organic clothing. And so this is where it all started out as. And over the years, we've seen quite a lot of growth in different product categories. We've branched out into more underwear categories, but also activewear and everyday essentials like t-shirts and long sleeves turtlenecks. And I'd say that was also very much driven by our customer base, because from the beginning, customers were very drawn to the values on sustainability, and they were really buying into that idea that the products are made both in an environmentally friendly way, but also ethically, because our manufacturers are all located within Europe and Turkey. and we work with certified factories, and it's really, really important for us that we know whom we work with and we have trusted relationships. And yeah, so it's not just, outsourcing garment production, but it's really about getting to know the people and digging more into what does it look like, the supply chain, and with whom are we in contact there.
And what was when you talk about the three founders, what was their sort of founding principles? Why did they start the company? Was there a trigger in terms of a market demand or a gap in the market that they saw? What was sort of the reasoning they got in?
I'd say many different reasons, and obviously they would be the ones that are best able to answer that question. I'd say it's a combination of different things. Definitely, they really live the values of sustainability. It's something that's really, really true to them. And also because we've been founded as a direct-to-consumer brand, it was always really important for us that we keep the customer center, and we have this value called the true friend, so that with everybody we interact that comes into contact with Organic Basics, they feel like they're actually in contact with human on the other side, and really living these values.
And can you tell a little bit about how they chose to basically have a head of sustainability, and that decision process of why they selected to have a head of sustainability instead of another e-commerce specialist or a marketer or things like that?
I'd say, when I started, I was responsible for developing a tool that calculates the environmental footprint of our products. So they have seen very proactively a need to also be able to back up certain claims. Back then, also because it wasn't so much known, the impact of clothes, it was very much about being able to back up claims around why is organic cotton better for people and the planet, and being able to set up a data infrastructure that can support these claims and that shows the true cost of fashion. That was one really big driving force. And then from there, it kind of started that coordinating different sustainability initiatives. At the same time, what's really unique about Organic Basics is that everybody who works there is really passionate about the topic. And we work in a very collaborative and decentralized way with sustainability. So different projects we are driving doesn't come from one sustainability team or something like this. It comes from everybody in the company.
And do you have an example of how that system works in terms of the decentralized approach?
Yeah, so for example, last year, our tech team had the great initiative to develop a website that we now call the Low Impact website. That is a website that has approximately 70% lower carbon footprint than our usual store. And that was entirely driven by them, the idea, the concept, and everything around it. So I'd say that's a really great example.
Do you want to maybe go into the thoughts behind the Low Impact website and how that came about? And you talked about how it came from the IT guys and how they could drive it, but maybe go into what was the thinking behind it? How has that changed the way that your consumers or buyers actually purchase or things like that?
Mm-hmm. I'd say it's very much drawn from our let's say drive that we realize that everything that we do has an impact, and that in order to make any meaningful change in the industry, we have to look across our close business boundaries. So we were already very aware of the impact of upstream production. And then it was also about looking into how does our business as a whole, and with us being an e-com business, what impact does this have? And our tech team is very knowledgeable in that area. So some of the, I'd say, characteristics of the website are now, for example, that the website doesn't load any images until it's actively requested by a customer that is surfing on the site. So let's say you open up all products that we are selling. Usually you would see the pictures of models and many different pictures, even of the products that maybe aren't interesting to you at that point in time. However, on the low impact website, you would only see pictures when you actively request them. So let's say you are interested in buying our triangle bra, then you would go onto that site and you would have to actively request that picture. So that's one of the ways that the website reduces the carbon footprint. It only uses illustrations as opposed to pictures. There is no use of videos. And a super cool feature also that it reflects the amount of renewable energy it's running on. So if the mix is really, really bad, it might disable certain functionalities, or it might shut down until the mix gets better. And the tech team has also created a manifesto with like 10 points of how we did it. And we also made that available on the website. So if people go on lowimpact.organicbasics.com, they can have a look at the manifesto, and hopefully, it will inspire somebody. And now the big question is also, how can we put this into our usual store? Yeah.
And how has that impact behavior? Like the launch of the low impact website, have you guys seen a shift in how people are buying from you in terms of moving over to that, or how has that changed or impacted the business side?
Yeah, it's been very well received, and also we've been trying to keep the communication quite streamlined, that it's easy to understand what the problem is and why we are doing this and how it benefits our customers. And we've seen a lot of engagement on the website, definitely.
And in terms of, if we just go back to the original starting point where you developed the tool for analyzing the carbon footprint, can you tell more about why Organic Basics wanted to develop that tool and some of the background behind it?
Yeah, so it's a tool that we have developed in 2019. That's called the Impact Index, and it calculates the environmental footprint of our products in terms of carbon emissions, waste, and water footprint. And the rationale behind it has been that when you tell customers that products are sustainable or eco-conscious, eco-friendly, made from recycled materials, that's one great way. On the other hand, you also want to show what impact this has and how much, and how far that choice then is better than going for more conventionally made products. So it was a way to be able to back up the claims that we make and also really understand what is driving our impact. So last year, for example, we took more of a deep dive into our carbon emissions and calculated our footprint with the help of the Greenhouse Gas Protocol. So now we have a good understanding of the footprint of all of our major processes, whether that's our upstream production, that's our transportation, our office, or even our website. And it's just being able to educate our customers that every choice that we make also has a big impact and drives our footprint in many ways. And we want to be able to transparently communicate that and show them where this is coming from and why it's important, because as we are all well aware, we are running out of time and we really need to address the climate crisis and take urgent action. So that's just one of our ways to take a first step and do something about it, hopefully.
And how are you guys, what's the primary method of communication or helping create awareness around the need for better or sustainable fashion in an industry that's inherently sort of not so sustainable? Like, how are you guys getting that message out, and what are the most effective ways you've seen of helping consumers understand or become more aware of some of these issues?
Yeah, so on the one hand, obviously we have a customer base that is very interested and passionate about the topic, that we get a lot of feedback on what we do, and we really see if and how they understand our messaging. We get lots of feedback, so we can iterate and improve on our communications if needed. And also it creates a great awareness internally for us of what are some of the pressing issues for our customers, and then being able to address that and really in a way, communicate what it is that they are looking for, to understand about us as a business, about our products, about the industry, anything really. So that is one big help. And then on the other hand, it's also always being super open about why we do things the way we do them, being transparent about our challenges or also some of the mistakes we've made, and just laying out the cards and open and showing them this is what we're up to and we try. And then obviously we also have a great creative team that is really, really good in translating some of these heavy, more geeky sustainability topics into very easily understandable chunks of information that both educates the customer, but it doesn't overwhelm them. We are hoping.
And what do you see as the primary challenge for consumers to shift across to a more like sustainable products, or in that regard, and especially in the fashion industry?
One of the major challenges for them to make the shift. Many, I mean, thankfully awareness is really rising. So customers are actually the ones really demanding change. There's a lot of activism in the industry that has been really picking up the last couple of years. So that really, really helps. So I mean, there are so many choices, and sometimes it can get really, really confusing about what is actually really sustainable. And then it's really important to also understand what is the context you're going to use that product in, because maybe going with an organic cotton long sleeve shirt is not the best option when you're going to go out on a hike. Then you obviously need a different kind of product. So probably having, discerning between the context of the product that they are going to use it for. And
And what about in terms of when you guys look at your, like the different impact of your actions and stuff like that, like how much have you seen from your sustainability efforts, like your ability as an organization to actually save or reduce carbon footprint through your low impact, or what tangible things have you guys been able to achieve in that respect?
It really gives us a blueprint on looking ahead for the next couple of years and really finding out what are the reduction opportunities. Because as you said, it's really, really valuable to know what the impact is of our different choices. But now let's say, really hard work starts in finding reduction opportunities. So I'd say it really helps us to see when we tweak a few choices. So whether we go with, for example, a recycled product, and we can really see when we change the content of the recycled material, how the carbon footprint changes. So that it really helps us in making decisions from a product perspective, but also in terms of how can we go about it outside of our firm boundaries, also when it comes to transportation.
And how are you addressing some of these externalities, like things like transportation, packaging, like the manufacturing of the garments and things like that? How are you guys tackling some of those things?
I'd say it's really a constant dialogue with our partners together to see and discuss around how it's going and what the impact is and some of their initiatives, because we really need to work together in order to drive any sort of change. And then also, for example, in terms of transportation, it's really about having a look onto how high is our return rate and then seeing what impact that has, because obviously a higher return rate will increase the distance a product has traveled and thereby also its carbon footprint. Or also with some of the options when it comes to express shipping or same-day delivery, looking into what are maybe some alternative modes of transportation that we can offer, especially in a more urban context.
And for Organic Basics, what's the ambition? Is that to grow your essentially footprint in in the fashion industry, so people shift across to a more sustainable approach, or where do you guys see yourselves in 5-10 years as an organization?
I'd say it's also bigger than that, and really seeing what actions we can take in order to address the climate crisis and being able to be an active participant in doing something about that, and continuously educating our customers on the challenges. And then also there's the environmental side, but also educating our customers around the social side and how many communities are disproportionately affected by climate change and have been left out of the conversation for too long, and really playing our part in addressing these topics and including as many voices as we can, using our brand as an opportunity to give the platform to other voices. So there are so many ways we can go about it.
And do you have examples? I know that in the beginning of our conversation you talked about that things are decentralized rather than centralizedly selected, but you also have long-term and short-term sustainability initiatives. I was wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit about some of the different initiatives that you guys have currently in play. And I know you recently released a new initiative, but also some of the long-term initiatives you talked about.
So 2 days ago, we launched our new circular denim, where the focus of our campaign is to highlight that while the world maybe doesn't need a new denim collection, it does need denim to be made in a better way. So that was one of the bigger initiatives for now, and really educating our customers about what is harmful about conventional denim production, and how what we are doing about it. On the one hand, so we are very lucky that oftentimes when we introduce, or every time we introduce products, also our sustainability goals go hand in hand with that. So you could maybe phrase these as some of the shorter term initiatives, or also now that we have the carbon footprint, we will have to redo that every year. So that's also like a set more short term initiatives. But then also in the long way, finding a way of how can we address how our products are being recovered, because especially in the EU, I think it's by 2025, they are introducing the directive where textile waste needs to be collected as a separate waste stream. So obviously we have a part to play in that as well.
And how are you preparing for those things? Like, are you currently, as part of the returns process for Organic Basics, is that something that you guys are working on actively to look forward to that time? Like, how has that been sort of managed that way?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot of discussions internally on how we can address that and what impact this will have on our business and our operations. So we really try to strike balance between more short-term and also long-term initiatives to be able to have time to innovate and
And can you tell us a little bit about some of the innovations within Organic Basics in terms of, we had a discussion earlier about radical and incremental innovation from our common backgrounds, but how you guys are using that to drive the development of new processes or products and things like that within Organic Basics?
With the business model that we've chosen and the products that we have chosen, I'd say there's inherently a lot of innovation to it, and our product team is extremely good at working with our suppliers together, because in our case, we don't own any of the manufacturing. So we are really focused on having a very close relationship with our suppliers, because they will also have to be the ones that are innovating in that direction. So it's about having conversations together of what's the status quo, how does it look like, what opportunities are there, what are they researching on, because they oftentimes have very strong R&D capabilities. So
What's been the biggest driver for innovation, or in terms of reduction of carbon footprint so far? Is it initiatives like the low sort of impact website, or what have you guys seen as being the biggest movers in that regard?
Yeah, that one is definitely a big one. And then also just the choice in materials that we have also has a really big impact on our carbon footprint. Modes of transportation, definitely as well. And then also when we look into packaging, to be able to use packaging that is from certified sources and also made from recycled materials.
In terms of the low impact website, what impact did that actually have on your business in terms of carbon footprint, or in terms of consumers, or what sort of number, or I don't know if you can share what impact did that actually have?
Yeah, it's great that you mentioned that, because right now we are preparing our annual impact report for 2020, and we are going to launch it in about a month's time. And there we will have a supply chain overview that will assign the different numbers and our different carbon footprints into the different parts of our supply chain. So there we will also share what footprint our usual website has and the savings that we've generated through the low impact website.
Do you have a teaser?
No.
And what, in terms of the industry, like we talked about before, like the fashion industry has been notorious for being quite wasteful. There's a lot of garments that are basically thrown out every day. How are you guys, in terms of do you see, what other leaders do you see in the industry that are taking up the challenge of making a more sustainable industry? And how are you guys trying to promote that from an industry perspective?
Do you mean other fashion brands?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So to go back, the industry is incredibly wasteful. And when you look up some of the numbers, you can see that while garment production is said to be increasing 3% annually, less than 1% of garments are actually being recycled globally. And also, I think this is a statistic from Ellen MacArthur Foundation that every second one truck full of clothing is being landfilled or incinerated. So it's really, it's a really important part of reducing our impact. And we are very inspired by a lot of small and medium brands, but also brands such as Patagonia. And we try to reach out to them, and we have a very open dialogue with Patagonia as well on some of their initiatives and sharing knowledge. So that's also really something that we embrace, this open mindset of sharing our knowledge and sparring with industry partners.
What do you believe is the biggest contributing factor to increasing the waste, or decreasing the amount of waste and increasing the amount of actual garments that are recycled or reused in that regard?
There it also depends a lot on what do we define as waste, because it can be a garment, it can be from different parts of the upstream processes, something like cuttings of fabrics, or downstream it can be the actual end of life of a garment, or it could even be something like the microplastics that are being shed while washing during consumer phase. And it's just, it will require a lot of cross-industry collaboration. And I'd say that there's a lot of need for technological developments. And I know that there is a lot of movement in the industry now to really bring further the recycling technology. And it's already doable for some materials, like cellulose-based materials like organic cotton or cotton in general, especially when it's not mixed with elastane or other plastics together. So we can see a lot of movement. And but there is also, we need to have a big conversation around the recycling technology as such, because you can mechanically recycle something, which means you shred the product and then you respin it, or you remelt it in the case of plastics, or you can have, but then that doesn't take into account the blends, and most of the fashion items are still blends between different materials. So that's on the one hand. On the other hand, you have chemical recycling, which is a technology that will hopefully be able to take apart and unmix. On the other hand, when we push this development more, will this really address, and while that's really, really important, we have to ask our question, will this also address our patterns of overconsumption if it's in the end super, super easy to unmix and make a new product? So yeah, just to make the point that we need to think about the implications of developing this already now.
And are you also working with basically the beginning of the chain as well with the growers? And so I don't know, you have an initiative with some of the Turkish growers. There was an initiative over Black Friday.
Yeah, so last Black Friday, we announced our partnership with WWF Turkey. So we partnered up with this organization to help cotton farmers in Turkey to transition to regenerative agriculture. And yeah, for us, this was really important that we'll be able to directly help and support a farmer on ground, because our organic cotton exclusively comes from Turkey. So yeah, it was really important for us to go back there and be able to affect some change.
So on the other end, what are you doing to help consumers in terms of, obviously with fashion and garments, you're helping them on one level, but are you also helping them have a greater understanding of the impact their choices make on other parts, as in food or other parts of their lives and things like that?
We had a big campaign in the past where we've been talking more about the consumer use phase and how certain washing behaviors have a big impact also on, in terms of the garment. So we really try to look into that as well. And but mainly it's been focused on our industry and educating our customers.
And can you speak to some of the trends that you've seen evolve in the last 12 months with Corona around how consumers have maybe shifted their spending behavior or their mindset around more sustainably developed or produced clothing? And also, is there any difference between some of the different generational groups or niches that you guys have as customers?
Yeah, what we've been seeing is that a lot more shoppers have been moving online. When you look at some of the bigger statistics, it shows that e-com's share of fashion sales doubled globally, and we've seen 6 years worth of growth within a single year. So we can really see that, there's an increased demand to shop online. Obviously, it's to be seen how that is going to develop with the global pandemic keeping us at home at the moment. So we've seen a lot of more customers, and we also have seen a shift in when you look across the industry that digitalization and sustainability are the two biggest drivers. A lot of brands have really discovered sustainability as an opportunity to grow, and customers are demanding it and actively driving that change to be able to access ethically and environmentally friendly produced clothing, which is really, really great to see, because let's face it, until now, businesses have really taken more from the earth and people than they have been giving back. So hopefully this can be a turning point.
And is there a specific segment or group that you can see as more active in this way or more aware than in the sort of the consumption of your products?
Due to the business model that we have, we've always seen an inherently more tech and digitally savvy customer base. But I think generally it's becoming more and more more and more customer segments are becoming aware of it.
And do you guys serve a particular segment? Like, are you more focused on the millennials or the older, or is it male, female skewed, or do you have is it pretty much all age groups and all?
Yeah, we don't especially focus on specific age groups. I'd say it's more holistic that we approach our customer base. Yeah.
All right, we have some other questions that people would like to ask as well. I know that some of these, we've talked about the growers, and one of the questions is, how are you helping farmers verify their cotton standards through initiatives such as Better Cotton Initiatives, for example, or supporting cotton growers with fair play or fair pay?
Yeah, so we only use organic cotton for our products, and that one is got certified, and that is really taking into account both social and environmental standards to make sure that people are treated fairly and paid fairly across the entire supply chain, and also that processes are environmentally friendly so that it's neither harmful for the people that are upstream, but also for consumers.
And what's, in terms of your time at Organic Basis, I'd love to know what your biggest or most proud initiative has been as part of a sustainability effort.
It was a really great moment to partner up with WWF, because this is going to be going on for the next years. That was a really great moment because it was also such a team effort to make this partnership come alive, and now implementing it together and really being able to work with people together that are on the ground and that are where we produce. So that's incredibly rewarding. And then I'd say it was also great to become part of 1% for the Planet as a company, where we donate 1% of our revenue to environmental and other non-profit organizations.
And how are you mostly communicating a lot of these initiatives? Is that just through your various social channels, or do you have a broader communication platform to share with? Or
we are very active on social media. So we are mainly communicating on our own channels.
In terms of what's next for Organic Basics, what can you share with us some of the bigger, longer-term initiatives that you think are, or that you can at least share with us that are coming, or the direction that you guys see being able to impact going forward? There are a lot of things we want to do, and I'd say to circle back a little bit, it's also because we realize that everything that we do has an impact, and we really realize that what has been sustainable in the past or today might not be sustainable tomorrow. So for us, it's really about embracing this attitude on we want to transparently communicate our challenges as well and our learnings, because we will have to, we want to keep learning on how we can reduce our impact and how we can do better as a company to be able to hopefully, it's very much rooted in giving back more than we take. Yeah. And the last sort of wrap up, we have several people coming in watching today from e-commerce and companies that are obviously trying to do more on digital and that sort of side of things. What advice would you give some of the people listening today about how they can go down this path, from whether it's starting from the very from zero or halfway through? What would be some of your advice based on your learnings and the things that you guys have done that you would give some of these people?
From a more general perspective, I would say that I know it can be really overwhelming to work with sustainability precisely because it's so complex and not well defined, that it's not about perfection, it's really about progress. As I said before, we are really running out of time, so it's really just about taking actions no matter how small or big they are, because they will accumulate, and it is going to be easier to address these things along the way from a perspective that at the beginning you're like, I don't even know how to address sustainability maybe, and that's totally normal, but it's really about every little step counts. So that's maybe from a more general perspective. And then from the next one, I really recommend having a look into the footprint of your business processes. Obviously, it depends on your business if you are selling a product or a service, but knowing what the impact is will make it so much easier to do something about it and really to address changes that you need to undertake.
Perfect. Is there anything else you'd like to leave us with, or any last comments or thoughts?
Just really that we need to do something. We are running out of time. So that's really what I want to say.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much
for joining us today in our first REVOLT session. For the rest of you, if you have further questions or would like to follow up with something, we'll obviously be recording this and releasing it on one of our channels later on. But you can also leave any other questions in our LinkedIn comments thread. We'll be holding these sessions on a monthly basis, and we'll be announcing the next guest in the coming weeks. So please stay tuned. But otherwise, thank you very much, and we're really happy to have you guys here. And thanks again to Anya.
Yeah, thank you.